You know, we live in a knowledge economy. And so we're going to sink or swim economically based on the talents of our people. Are we going to be good in nanotechnology, biotechnology, in physics, in space research, health? That's where the jobs are going to come from. Steel mills are all closing. Textile mills closed decades ago. You know, New York, Boston, a lot of other places are going to get along because of our intellectual power. India's going to rival us on that. And Brazil is really emerging. It's not just the fact they're hosting the World Cup. In 2014, they just killed Chicago in the competition for the Olympic Games in 2016. Brazil is a big energy producer. It's a lot like the United States. It has tremendous natural resources. It's a multi-ethnic country, which is, I think, a great strength. And Brazil's a country where lots of different people can live together fairly harmoniously. And so I think there's a strength there. And we're going to see Brazil emerge as the strongest country in Latin America. And with us, the strongest country in the Western Hemisphere. And that's a big story of our time, those countries. And that's what I meant. I'm not anti-Russian. I wish the Russians well, but you got to look at Russia. They have a declining population. They have huge problems in worker productivity and alcoholism. Alcoholism is a huge problem in the workplace in Russia. It's a dictatorship, authoritarian government. People are not allowed to, people are trying to leave Russia. You don't see hundreds of thousands of people trying to get in. One pretty simplistic way to tell about the health of a country is do people want to live there? We have millions of people trying to live in our country, however imperfect we are. We're a great country, and people know it. We're an opportunity society. We're a meritocracy, by and large. No one's fleeing other countries to get into Russia. And so I think it tells you something about, you know, the basic health of the country politically. And again, I wish them well, but I don't think they have a great future in terms of world power. I think China, India, and Brazil will be greater powers than Russia. Yes?
Hey, I'm Emily. I'm a third-year student at Bar 2, Asian Studies major.
Asian Studies. Very good.
I am curious about Iran.
Yes.
I'm doing a lot of work with Iran in my internship at the Student World Assembly.
Where are you interning?
Student World Assembly.
Very
It's
good.
an organization for human rights.
Very good.
And students. We have been doing a lot of work with the civil rights movement there because one of our directors is Iranian.
Right.
And I'm just curious, from your point of view, having worked so much with Iran, how you feel Obama could tackle or perhaps approach human rights and maybe go from a grassroots level to work with Ahmadinejad or whoever's in power.
Right. It's a gret question. Boy, it was a dramatic summer. If you watched the June 12th elections, the aftermath. Sarah, bye. Good luck to your mom.
Thank you. So sorry I have to leave.
No, no problem. And to see the aftermath of those, I think in a couple of those demonstrations, there were 1 million people in the streets of Tehran.
More.
Protesting, you think more, protesting against the government. Unfortunately, I think the Ahmadinejad government has kind of got short-term control. They've beat back the protesters. They've arrested lots of people. They've executed people. It's a very tough, brutal dictatorship. And I think for the time being, unfortunately, they have quelled this rebellion. But in the long term, I think that's a shaky government. There are enough people in Iran dissatisfied, not just students, but people of all age group, of all classes, and particularly the minorities in Iran. You know, Iran is only about 50% Persian. The Azeris are a significant minority. The Baluchs are a significant minority. The Arabs are, and the Jews are a significant minority. And I think that they're going to find it very difficult to continue this regime for the long term without significant internal unrest. So one of the reasons why I think we should not use military force against Iran, I'm against it. I think we should give the Iranians a little bit of time to see, we should give that situation time to see what's going to happen. If we use military force, my judgment is the Iranian people would largely rally around Ahmadinejad. They're a lot like Americans. They're very nationalistic and very patriotic, like Americans are. And if someone attacks you, you may, this happened in the Soviet Union when Hitler attacked the Soviets in 1941. You may not like the government, but you love your country. And you may not like your government, but your sons, brothers, friends are going to be in the military fighting, so you're going to support them. And so I actually think President Obama's had a pretty sophisticated strategy here. What did he do? Inauguration Day. Anybody remember the key foreign policy sentence in the inaugural address back on January 20? The inaugural was mainly about domestic American affairs. There were 3 or 4 sentences about foreign affairs. Here was one. To the Muslim people of the world, we Americans respect you and want to live in peace. I thought that was a great message, given what's been happening in the world. Second, he said, for those of you with a clenched fist, that's Iran and Syria, if you unclench it, I'll meet you halfway and I will shake your hand and I'll sit down and negotiate with you. And he's done it. Then he said, the third message was, but if you are a terrorist group and you're trying to destroy our country, we will defeat you. That's a message to the Al-Qaedas of the world. I thought those are 3 pretty good messages. So I think his strategy towards Iran is, let's try to negotiate with them. It's tough to sit down with Ahmadinejad's people. We don't like them. We don't respect them. But they might become a nuclear weapons power. So to stop that, sometimes you have to, decide you're going to engage and see if you can achieve a peaceful resolution of a problem. I think he's right to do that. I think he's right to put diplomacy first. And then if diplomacy doesn't succeed, we have options. We have sanctions, which is an option. We always have the use of force as an option. But frankly, if it comes to a decision to use force, I would say we should not. I would say the better, smarter strategy would be to try to contain Iran through our military power. Not attack it, but contain it. Prevent it from becoming a problem for its neighbors. I think we have the power to do that. So I frankly feel that President Obama has made a series of good judgments here. He needs a lot of luck for this policy to be successful. And I think we should wish him well. Yes?
My name is Valerie. I'm a third-year religion major at Bard. I was actually kind of a follow-up question on Iran. I was wondering how you felt about the way that the nuclear debate with Iran is framed in the States, because from most articles that I've read, and I've also looked at Al Jazeera to get kind of a different perspective,
Yeah.
there's not often do articles say, they frame Iran as saying that they will develop nuclear technology if given the opportunity. It's almost like the implication is there that like the negotiation that they're trying to initiate with the States is in order to get a nuclear weapon. And do you kind of feel like that is deterring kind of U.S. negotiations, or that has a negative effect, at least on the way that like the American public is seeing Iran, that it's not really framed as like a two-sided debate, instead it's just a single-sided issue?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Most people think there's very little doubt that the Iranians are trying to develop the capacity to become a nuclear weapons power, meaning to have the scientific knowledge, basically to enrich uranium and reprocess it and to develop a nuclear weapons capacity. Most people think that's what they're trying to do. I think that, one thing about when you negotiate with another country, you make a decision. Are we trying to defeat this country at the negotiating table, or are we trying to compromise with them? I think, frankly, the Iranians will continue unless they're given a reason not to continue.